All right, I want to talk real quickly about the volume of sand lab. Okay, so let's give you some sample numbers and work through this table first, and then we'll go through and answer the questions at the end of it. So let's say that you had a volume of dry sand of, let's say 25. And let's say the volume of water was the same, 25. And you put them together and the water level rose to 40. So that's the data that we collected. This is just sample data. So to find the volume of sand alone, we take 40 minus, take the volume of sand and water minus the volume of water, so 40 minus 25, which is 15. As for the airspace, well, we thought we had 25. It turns out we only have 15, so 25 minus 15 gives us 10. And then to find the fraction of airspace, we're just going to take this 10 divided by 25, which gives you 0.4 as a decimal, or we can turn it into a percent by multiplying it by 100, which means 40% of its airspace. So almost half of it is airspace. So that's how you do the table. So let's go through real quick and answer the questions. Number 13 says adding a stone to a graduated cylinder containing 25 cubic centimeters of water raises the water level in the cylinder to the 32 cubic centimeter mark. What's the volume of the stone? This is just going to be 32 minus 25, which is 7 cubic centimeters. Number 14, the volume of marble is 1 cubic centimeter of the following choices, which tells how many identical marbles are needed to fill an empty graduated cylinder to the 100 cubic centimeter mark. Well, because of the airspace in between the marbles, it's going to take up some of that area, so it's going to be C, less than 100. Number 15, a volume of 50 cubic centimeters of dry sand is added to 30 cubic centimeters of water for a total volume of 60 cubic centimeters. What's the volume of water that is not going to the airspace between the sand particles? Well, think about sand. Here's a graduated cylinder. The sand is going to sit on the bottom with the water on top of it. So it says it looked like we had 50 of sand and then 60 of both. So that means you're going to have 10 cubic centimeters here of water that did not go into the airspace. So the answer, letter A, is 10 cubic centimeters. On letter B, what's the volume of water that does fill the airspace? Well, we had 30 of water altogether. We know 10 of it did not. So if we take 30 minus 10, you're going to get 20 cubic centimeters. Letter C, what's the volume of the airspaces between the particles in the dry sand? Well, if 20 of it fills the airspace, then 20 is the volume. What's the volume of the sand particles alone? Well, we thought we had 50. Turns out 20 of it is airspace. So I'm going to write the answer over here. So 30 cubic centimeters is actual sand particles. And then letter E, what fraction of total volume of dry sand is sand particles? Well, that's 30 out of 50, which gives you 0.6 or 60% of it. Number 16, how would you measure the volume of granulated sugar? The problem with sugar is it dissolves when you put it in water. But the only reason why we use water displacement is because it's cheap and it's what comes out of our faucets. So we could displace something else that sugar does not dissolve in, and we could find the volume that way. So I'm going to say displace a liquid sugar won't dissolve in. And then number 17, how would you measure the volume of a cork stopper? Problem with cork, just like the balloon we talked about yesterday, is that cork's going to float when you put it in water. So a simple way, another way to look at this besides holding it under the water, which is what we said with the balloon, is how about we displace a liquid cork won't float in. All right, so what you need to do now, just like what we'll do with any lab, is across from the title page here, so go back to the very first page of this. And on the left-hand side, you need to take a couple of minutes and write a conclusion for this. Remember, your conclusion sheet, which is right here, should be taped in the back inside cover of your textbook, or of your comp book. Make sure you answer each question in a complete sentence, and it should go together as a paragraph. I don't want number one, the answer is this, number two is the answer to this. That's not how we wrote it the first time. So take a few minutes and write a conclusion.